Let's go now to our legal panel, News Nation legal contributor and Law and Crime Network host, Jesse Weber, and Misty Marris, a trial attorney and legal analyst. Okay, let's go to the evidence that we have that implicates Michelle Tracon. She's the only one alive now. The victim has obviously been declared dead, even though her remains have never been found. The soon-to-be ex-husband, Michelle Tracon's boyfriend, committed suicide shortly after being charged with the murder. What implicates Michelle Tracon?
I think there are three big pieces of evidence, and you touched upon it. One, it's the surveillance tape of her in the car, seemingly her in the car, where he is depositing items into these trash receptacles miles and miles away that has her DNA on those bags, or at least on one of those bags. And we found out that the victim's blood was also on these items, and strange items, clothing, zip ties, gloves. That's number one. Number two, you see her in the video and she's leaning out of the car. It's been a debate where she said, I didn't really know what he was depositing. I was just spitting out gum. Take that for what it is.
Yeah, but are you really riding along with your boyfriend and just throwing out different bags, weird bags?
And the biggest part, and I think we both can agree, what we call the alibi notes, that there were these notes found in Fotis Doulos' office that were basically transcribed by him and Michelle Tracon about their activities on the day of Jennifer Farber Doulos' disappearance. Come to find out, all their activities they listed are not accurate. So it looks like they were giving fake whereabouts about where they were. That's really hard to overcome, and I haven't heard a good defense by that.
Yeah, and that's really where we're going to see that conspiracy. Remember, this is conspiracy to commit murder, so they have to show that there's a meeting of the mind.
Murder itself?
Conspiracy to commit murder, which would put her equally as culpable for the murder if she's convicted. That's really important because she's basically on the hook for the murder of Jennifer. And Jesse, I think where the defense is going to attack this, and you laid it out, this is the evidence, is that Michelle Tracon is never seen actually throwing away the bags. In her police interviews, she says she didn't know what was in them. She said that she thought they were debris from one of Fotis' properties.
Well, why didn't he just throw it all in one trash can? In other words, why you take it to random trash cans scattered around? That's so
harder for police to find. Remember, her body has never been found. And so that's one of the interesting aspects of this case. Now, you can obviously prosecute and get a conviction without a body. One other piece that I have to mention is that she cleaned his car. And when she was interviewed by police about why that happened, remember, she was confronted with this bad evidence, and she said in that interview, well, based on everything you're showing me, looked like he asked me to clean it to cover up a murder. Now, their defense is what they're trying to say is, yeah, Fotis Doulos did some shady stuff. Our client had no part in that. So they have no problem throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, but what about these? So what is her explanation for the fake alibi note?
She said that Fotis' lawyer, because he was going through this bitter divorce, told them to document their activities in connection with his divorce proceeding, which really doesn't make a lot of sense when you're talking about such a detailed account and a timeline of the day Jennifer goes missing. So all of this together, it is a circumstantial case.
It is.
But all of this together, you have to think, the jury's going to have to believe Michelle Tracon was just so blind to what was going on, to travel with him, to go to all these different dumpsters, then to have these notes and all of this in order to overcome these charges.
But I think this is something we've talked about before, a totally different case, but let's say you talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. When you have somebody who's the surviving defendant, do you put all the blame on her in order to get justice for what happened to Jennifer Farber Doulos? And I think that's something that the defense will exploit, that, look, a lot of what they're hearing in this case is to prove a murder happened. That's one of the elements they have to show. A lot of the evidence is about Fotis Doulos, not necessarily Michelle Tracon, and that's going to be up to the defense to create that separation.
So last question, they have never found any remains of Jennifer, and Fotis Doulos' lawyer argued that she had staged her own disappearance, a la Gone Girl. How problematic is it that she has been declared legally dead, but they don't have a body to work with. They don't have a storyline, therefore, with circumstantial evidence and an autopsy report to say how she was killed.
Yeah, the body is always the best piece of evidence because it's the means, the matter, and the timing of death. So no body murder cases, they're not impossible, but they are more challenging. We saw that Fotis' attorney came out the gate and said this is a Gone Girl-like scenario. I would expect the defense to raise this at some point, maybe in their closing arguments, that that they don't have the body and that is reasonable doubt because there's not evidence that she's actually dead. And that's why you're seeing all of this forensics, the blood, all of those items in those bags, because number one, prosecutors have to show that there was a death that occurred.
Yeah. All right, Misty Marris, Jesse Weber, fascinating case. I'm sure we'll be tracking it as it goes because the trial is underway. Thank you so much.
Thank you.